With virtual reality sliding into mainstream gaming due to the hype behind Half Life Alyx, you might find yourself curious about what Insurgency Sandstorm would look like in VR. Let's take a look at Onward, a VR military-style shooter that is very similar to Insurgency. Is it worth a shot? Well, here are some facts and my opinions that could help you decide. So let's start with some similarities, such as the players and the community. There is a lot of joking and trolling in the chat, which we all know as Insurgency players. That's one of the main attractions. Don't lie, you know it is.
Oh my. No, thank you. But I appreciate it.
Just like Insurgency, Onward has a huge skill gap, meaning that a player that's been playing since day one is going to dominate a player that just joined yesterday. The game also has multiple modes that cater to different types of players, such as co-op, versus, and competitive, in order to soften the distance of that skill gap between each player. Onward has a lot of similar weapons to that of Insurgency, such as the SCAR, MK18, AK-47, SVD, and even an RPG. There aren't quite as many weapons as Insurgency has, but it's got most of the major ones. One thing you'll notice is that the selection process of each weapon and kit is very similar to that of Insurgency, in that points are assigned to each piece of equipment and attachment. So if you want to carry 2 frag grenades, 2 syringes, and some body armor, you're probably not going to be able to afford a laser sight, a scope, or a foregrip. On the note of weapons, they are all faction locked and class locked, so you're not going to be able to have an SVD on the security force or for a rifleman class. In other words, it would have to be on the insurgent forces with the sniper class. The maps are also kind of similar to Insurgency, but mostly just in the way that they're in the Middle Eastern region and same era. Otherwise, the maps really aren't that similar because the maps in Insurgency are far more complex than the maps in Onward. And that's mostly just due to technological limitations. The last big similarity between these two games is that you'll need to pay attention to sounds to succeed. Listening to the source of rifle fire or footsteps is your best chance of getting the jump on the enemy, and with the very fast time to kill in this game, you'll want every advantage that you can get. One obvious similarity from the footage is that the game has a very fast time to kill. I didn't count the bullets, but I would imagine that it takes 2 to 4 bullets to kill in most cases. So now we'll get into the differences between Onward and Insurgency. One difference is that map knowledge doesn't matter as much. The maps are very simple, and there are only a handful of windows and peeking spots on each map, so it's more about reaction time and accuracy when shooting on the fly. So I know that I mentioned players as a similarity between the two games, but I'm also going to mention players as a difference between the two games. Most players in Onward are highly skilled and experienced. It seems that most of the lesser skilled players just aren't playing the game anymore. In Insurgency, there are many ranges of skill, from a knucklehead that just runs into the field of fire, to a pro player that knows where all the sneaky spots are. A surprising difference is that the recoil is way easier to control in Onward. It takes very little effort to aim down sights and keep your sight on the enemy, and I'm not here to critique the game, but I feel like loads of recoil would be best for this game, much like Insurgency. The versus game modes aren't very similar to Insurgency. The most popular is Uplink, which is basically just planting a bomb or killing all of the enemies. And then there's Escort, where one team tries to get a VIP player from one end of the map to the other without the defending team killing him. And there's Assault, which is basically Uplink with a set amount of respawns available. The playstyles of Onward is pretty different from that of Insurgency. You'll find a lot of campers in Insurgency, mostly on defense, which is respectable. But in Onward, most of the good players are just moving around the map swiftly and being quick to shoot. When it comes to team sizes, it's usually 5 versus 5, which is significantly less than the number of players in Insurgency. One really cool thing about Onward that differentiates itself from Insurgency is that its night maps are really cool. I found Onward's night maps to be really immersive, and honestly, they just made me feel like a badass, because I got to wear night vision goggles like I was some kind of Spec Ops soldier. Overall, and this is where my opinion comes in, Onward is much less exciting and intense than Insurgency. There's usually a lot of immersive voices yelling, explosions booming, and guns banging, but Onward feels very empty in comparison. It's an interesting experience and would be a fun game to play casually in rotation of other games, but the skill gap is just too big. As someone who would only want to play for an hour per week, I wouldn't get a satisfying gaming experience because I'd just be dominated left and right. There are some crazy good players in this game. Jesus Christ. Holding and shooting the guns is really cool, but you kind of forget about that once you actually enter a battle. It feels awesome when you get a kill, especially more than one, so it is rewarding to be good at the game. Oh yeah! I heard one guy say that it takes about 900 hours before you naturally become skilled at the game. How true that is, I do not know, but I can definitely believe it. I will say that Onward is a lot more healthy for you, in that when you play Insurgency, you're just sitting in a chair moving your arm. But when you play Onward, you're squatting, leaning, moving your arms, stepping, turning your head, and even laying down on the ground. Is it worth buying a $300 to $1,000 headset for? For most players, absolutely not. If you already have a headset, go ahead and purchase it when it's on sale. I don't think you'll regret it. Do I see people replacing Insurgency with Onward? No. Insurgency has the potential to be a more relaxing and exciting experience in all cases. The only thing you're missing with Insurgency is an interesting experience that loses its appeal quickly. It's kind of like dating. Insurgency is a game that I would marry, while Onward is just a game that I would have some fun with for a couple hours and then leave after making the excuse that I have work in the morning. For my remarks on VR games in general, I think VR is going to be a prominent source of gaming in 2020 and the following years. I don't think it will replace pancake games, but when you look at the sales figures of the Valve Index and other headsets literally not being able to keep up with the demand, it shows that the VR industry will not only have the interest, but the funding to create more. So that's my overview of Onward. If you want to play Onward or Insurgency with me, and you are on NA East, comment with your Steam name and let's game together. Let me know your thoughts on the video and or the games. If you enjoyed the video, it would help out the channel if you press the like button, or dislike if you didn't like it. Not a problem. Subscribe for more, and until the next video or stream, we'll be seeing ya.